Utah is home to hundreds of farms, and its fertile soil often creates the perfect recipe for growing fresh produce. But perhaps one of Utah's best kept secrets is how its arid desert climate and high elevation, conditions not ideal for growing coffee beans, actually create an exceptional environment for roasting them. Over the years, we visited some of Utah's outstanding coffee roasters throughout Salt Lake County, from Blue Copper Coffee to La Barba. Last season, we stopped by Cafe de Bola to learn about small batch, carefully crafted coffee. This season, we're thrilled to visit one of the oldest roasters in Utah, Millcreek Coffee Roasters on Main Street in Salt Lake City. While there are countless ways to enjoy freshly roasted beans, it all begins with intention and connection. At Millcreek Coffee Roasters, sourcing beans from the best coffee growing regions around the world is just the start. They also believe in giving back, building lasting relationships with farmers and communities in these regions, creating a legacy of care and sustainability. This synergy, this humanity, is what sets their coffee apart. It's present in every bag they roast and each sip from your morning mug. Today, we're sitting down with Millcreek Coffee Roasters founder Steve Brewster and his daughter Stacy Maxwell. For them, coffee is much like fresh produce. Once roasted, it's meant to be consumed immediately. They believe you should enjoy coffee however you like, but they also encourage you to consider the origins of a simple cup of joe. This week on Taste Utah. Stacy, it's so exciting to be able to sit down with you and your father, Steve, to talk about Millcreek Coffee Roasting, because truly you've been roasting for how many years?
32 years.
We would say you're more than veterans. Like, you have that OG coffee artisanal roaster.
I've already retired and it's gone on to the next generation.
Isn't that so cool? So 2 generations of coffee roasters here. So Stacy, you've been raised in it?
Yes, and I was a barista during college, helped start our airport stores when they were on the decon course, and then I left for a while and came back about 8 years ago.
Working for family, like, I get emotional, is so special because you're in the trenches with each other, you're there during the hard times, and you can be there in hard times with each other in a way that just no one else can.
There's no quitting.
And then,
right?
Yeah, but then the highs are that much greater, right? The joys are that much greater. And so but it's so special. I mean, what you do here is so special. And you've done it for the family, but you've done it for our Utah food family and community, which is so special. First of all, like, why roasting your own coffee? 30 years ago in Utah, coffee may not have been as popular as it is today.
It wasn't even popular. The pioneer in Utah is John Bolton, Salt Lake Roasting Company.
Yes.
So I want to shout out to him.
Yes, of course.
My background is I'm a tax accountant, and I was working for a big international firm, and I would go play racquetball every morning with a friend of mine, and we'd go to Salt Lake Roasting Company and drink coffee. It's like, this is different. This truly is different. And then one year, we went on a family vacation to Hawaii.
Okay.
So we had a rainy day. We went to visit a coffee roaster on the island. And he was a little bit hesitant to talk to me because I was asking very pointed questions. As a CPA, he wanted to have some information on helping him from a tax standpoint in his small business. And I was downloading a business plan at the same time and realized, let him know I'm not going to Hawaii. It's not about that.
Yeah.
And then when we got back to Salt Lake, it's like, no, we should do this. Her mother and I were married at the time,
okay.
And we would travel and go visit different coffee roasting places and visit different people, and then you finally reach that point and say, okay, we're either going to do this or we're not.
Yeah.
So you start signing leases and buying equipment, and
you start doing the dang thing.
And what she brought was the food side, right? Because to me, it's like, this is just a business.
Yeah.
I was passionate about coffee, but I needed that side to say, okay, look, I got the roasting handled. You can handle the rest of this.
I love it.
And we met a lady in San Francisco. Her name's Erna Knudsen, and she was one of the early people in the specialty coffee. And I remember sitting in her office in San Francisco and her saying, if you give quality coffee, you will be successful.
So we're still doing specialty grade coffee, but really where we feel like we are unique in what we do here is we treat coffee as if it's produce. So we say once it's roasted, it really is as perishable as produce. You want to consume it within a 14-day period.
I love it. So you're roasting, you're brewing, and you're encouraging others to enjoy fresh coffee.
Yeah, and our wholesale customers are even on board with that. You know, we're delivering weekly to them, making sure that they have the best product that they can serve their customers. And we like that we have smaller roasters because it allows us to really roast to order.
And what's so cool about what you do is you allow us to taste globally different areas of the world that are growing coffee and doing a pretty phenomenal job. So starting from where does coffee come from?
So it grows 20 degrees above and below the equator. So it's called the bean belt. So
Okay.
it's all around the world.
Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Yeah.
I love it. And so it only grows in these specific regions.
Yes.
It literally is a cherry.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
it's just like any fruit. It flowers.
Those are cherry
first,
pits.
and then it cherries. And then when they're red or yellow, depending on the varietal, then they're ripe. And you get 2 cherries or 2 beans out of every cherry.
So just to put it into perspective,
Okay, this is some ribbon. Here's our green.
these
bean
are
right
little
here.
greens, right?
Yeah.
So this is 1 cherry.
Yeah.
This is a full cup of coffee. How many beans would you say, just like to guesstimate, like we're not going to hold you to it.
100, 200 beans, I don't know. Depends how strong it is and how big your cup is.
200
50
beans,
to 100.
100 cherries.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty amazing to think about that. So you decide, okay, we're going to do coffee, we're going to do it right. You start traveling to different places.
Yeah, I think it was after maybe the first 3 or 4 years of just getting your feet wet, just buying good coffee, relying on good coffee brokers
Okay.
to help you through the process, and doing a lot of tasting. You've got to taste coffee. If
Yeah.
you're not tasting coffee, you know, you shouldn't be doing this
Yeah.
business.
And then buying from reputable, like you said, like reputable importers, but buying specialty grade coffee. So it's cupped at a higher.
It's already pre-graded.
It's
We're
pre-graded.
buying the top 1 or 2% to begin with.
And are you making unique connections down there? Are you?
Yes, I got lucky. I hooked up with a guy, and he's a great friend to this day. And he was in charge of Costa Rica.
Okay.
It's called the Coffee Source down there.
Okay.
And I got to know Arnaldo, and we went to different origins. And then I actually encouraged him to go to other places because I trusted him and really liked him. So we went to Guatemala together. Now he does Guatemala, and it's so unique. The soil makes all the difference in the world. That's what you're tasting, a lot of the different soils.
So even like in Colombia, for instance, your huelas are going to be different from your calcas. And your,
Yeah, they're super bright, and the stuff down in Tolima is more chocolatey. And
Yeah.
so even in the Colombia's a big country.
It is,
But even Costa Rica has their pockets.
yeah, they're all going to taste different depending on where they're grown, just like any other produce, right?
Which is so fun and so cool. I mean, I remember the first time I realized that I was working at Lock Haven and the chef brought in grapes from his garden, and they were just, white grapes. And I took a bite and I was like, this tastes like mint. And I was like, oh yeah, because it was grown next to the mint. And so how not just the soil, but the things that are growing around it, and then the region. When we think about coffee, there's lots of different ways to engage and enjoy. And none of them are wrong or right, but it's what you need in that moment. But a lot of it is about fast coffee. But the crazy thing is to get to a cup of coffee is slow.
Yeah.
The average consumer drinks coffee fast, and they drink coffee the way they like it. And that is what you support. And then also for that average coffee consumer, the amount of labor and work and love and care and adherence to ethics and quality, something that we don't have to think about because you think about it for us. You can taste it in every cup, and we're so grateful to you. We're back, continuing our coffee conversation with Steve Brewster and Stacy Maxwell, the father-daughter duo behind Millcreek Coffee Roasters. After 32 years at the helm, Steve has retired, passing the torch to Stacy, who now leads this family-owned business with the same passion and dedication. Their love for coffee and for what they do is evident in every detail. While they proudly supply local restaurants and hospitality businesses, it's also a treat to visit one of their 3 locations at the Salt Lake City Airport, Millcreek Commons, or where we are now, their roasting facility on Main Street in downtown Salt Lake City.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the food. Will you tell us what's in front of us when people come to Millcreek on Main Street? What can they get?
We are really known for our breakfast sandwiches.
Okay.
So here we have our chicken bagel.
Okay.
It's hot, so it has jalapenos, it has egg, sausage, and a cheddar jalapeno.
Okay.
So we're hot.
I love it.
This is our just egg and cheese bagel.
Beautiful.
And then we have our turkey bacon Swiss, one of our most popular sandwiches.
Okay.
Our goat cheese and honey, and then our pepperoni flatbread.
So you really can get some hearty offerings here, as well as like maybe a little bit of lighter fare. Like to me, toast is always a little lighter, but a nice hearty sandwich. With all these things on the table, Steve, what's your favorite?
I usually put more bacon and cheese on that.
Okay.
And then it's my favorite.
All right, so Steve, this is for you. And then
All right.
Stacey, what about you?
Thank
What's
you.
your favorite thing on the table here?
I am vegetarian, so I'm either gonna go here or here.
Which one do you prefer? Like if I was like, this is the last thing you get to eat.
Probably.
Okay, go there. Perfect. I'll take this.
Okay.
So going back to this conversation about roasts, tasting. So we've done a little cute tasting here, but there's a process in between that's really, really important. So will you take us through what that looks like?
Yeah, so when coffee comes in, so we have our green beans that we have, our Costa Rica, Guatemala, Ethiopian, that we have year round.
Mm-hmm.
And when we blend those, we really need to make sure that they're consistent year over year. So when we have green bean that's coming in to sample, we'll get them from different people and different importers, and we're tasting them side by side to see if
We taste them blind.
and blind, yes.
Okay.
We're tasting them side by side to make sure, okay, which coffee tastes the most like the one the year prior, and which one do we like the most?
Okay. What is light, medium, and dark?
Okay, so it really is in degrees of temp, the degree in which the bean is roasted. So,
Okay.
as you put in the green coffee, the bean is taking on heat.
Okay.
And at about 380 degrees, it pops like popcorn. So
Okay.
it's called first crack. Between first crack and when you drop your roast is really when that chemical reaction starts happening. A lot of the sugars come out, a lot of the flavor starts to develop, new chemical components come out during
And you're
that time.
constantly checking in on the process,
Yeah,
right?
constantly
So-
checking it and looking at the internal temperature of the bean. He's turning down the gas when he needs to, just constantly watching it. And really what you're trying to do is maximize, to a degree, that time between the first crack and when you want to drop it.
What is the first crack? Is that like moisture being sucked out? Or?
It's popping.
Expanding like popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah. So as you can see here, you have a small green bean. This is
Yeah.
the same bean, right?
Yeah.
And then you get that much out of a darker roast. It just expands so much more in size.
Yes. I
Just
love it. And
through
so
roast.
what we have here is we have from
Green all the way
all
through.
the way through. So when you're back there in the roasting process and we were back there together, you can see that they shift. It goes from this green to then almost kind of like a honey caramel like look to it, to then this almost light chocolate,
and that's
to then
the
milk
beauty
to dark.
of those small roasters.
Yeah.
Because you get any bigger than our bigger roaster, it's all automated,
Yeah.
and you put it
You
in
lose
there.
that handcrafted nature, because the reality is, and we were, as you were taking me on the tour, this idea of different sizes. So beans from different regions are different sizes. And you actually have to roast them separately because you have to roast them to their own specificity to then be able to like blend them together.
Yeah, or you can have something like our 4-bean here, which is 4 different origins.
Okay.
You can see they're different
Sizes.
different colors even, because they were roasted all at the same time. So you're going to get a little bit of inconsistency, but this one we chose to do a pre-roast blend. Or this one is our Broadway,
Okay.
and it's a post-roast blend. So you have
Okay.
your French roasted, bean, and then you throw in a little bit of light roast to it to kind of take off that edge.
We're back at Millcreek Coffee Roasters, diving deeper into the fascinating world of sourcing and roasting beans. One crucial step in the process is cupping, an art of discovery and precision. As Steve and Stacy explained, cupping is essentially a blind tasting that allows roasters to evaluate the flavors and quality of the beans. Why is it so important? Because even beans from the same origin can vary dramatically from year to year. It's a bit like a chef tasting a dish as it's prepared, only here, instead of adjusting salt, the focus is on refining time and temperature to bring out the perfect flavor profile during roasting.
Sourcing from these different places allows us to feel like we're connected to those places because we are.
And it's such a huge part of a common human experience because people don't realize the coffee market is massive.
Yeah.
The C market in New York is second only to oil.
Jeez.
I can buy futures out 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so liquid.
Because we need gas for our vehicles and we need fuel for our lives.
Well, and it is that big. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a very liquid market. It's speculated in all the time. Right now, it's been on a speculative 2-year run.
Yeah.
So it's making it really expensive.
Yeah.
It does correct with fundamentals, so we're hoping Brazil comes in with a big crop and Colombia.
But the beauty of it all is that it's also a ritual. So we get to see people every day from here, and they get to enjoy their cup of coffee just like you do in the morning, and that's when you can become present and you can ground yourself for the day.
And you can connect. You
Yeah.
connect to yourself, but you connect to community. And connection is so important. And so even with the beans that you're sourcing, where you're sourcing from, you're connecting because you're also supporting sustainable programming and you're supporting the lifestyles of the people who are farming and are working with the soil and creating the product that allows you to offer to the community.
What's important about that is, as the numbers guy, I watch the C market, I trade the C market, but it has a lot of relevant things beyond price.
Yeah.
Because for the first 4 or 5 years we were in this business, it was at unsustainably low levels.
Yeah.
So you pay a differential on top of the C market, depending on what country you're in and
We
what
still do.
grade of coffee you're buying. But early on, we were paying extra differentials because I would go to Costa Rica and my friend is like, look, this is unsustainable. These farmers, and they'll tear it up, right? You can see them tear out plants, put in avocados. So we would pay extra premiums on top of everything else because you need to keep that crop in the ground. They got to weather the downside.
Yeah.
Right now, they're enjoying the upside, which is all good, and that creates more supply. So they'll be putting in extra plants right now. So it's kind of a self-equalization going on.
From a buying perspective, you want to support that self-equalization because even when I was down in Costa Rica talking to farmers, they were saying that big companies would come in, drive the cost of the bean down really low, and then they would buy exclusives. And then that big company's making a good amount of money because then they drive the cost back up, but that farmer themselves wasn't really making that much money to what they were talking about, as you're saying, like, you know, I'm growing these beans, but I'm not making money to have a sustainable life. Like, we can't hire Costa Ricans, we have to hire Guatemalans because we can afford
Nicaraguans
to
pick all their coffee.
Exactly, and so it's also knowing what you're supporting, and so I think that intention of creating the sustainability and programming and resources to help quality of life.
So we support it at 2 levels. One is, look, let's support the commodity that we all enjoy.
Yes.
Because if you're buying it too low, it's going to go away.
Yep.
And then ultimately the price is going to be outrageously
Yeah.
high. And second, it is supporting the communities, and so little of what we give goes so far.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you talked about, we funded a library down there.
You care, and they care too, and so how can we buoy one another? And that's what sustainability is. It isn't, you know, making sure that we use the product, every little bit of the product is a part of that, but it's connecting to something greater than ourselves.
Well, and keeping the people in the program, because if it's not sustainable, the next generation of coffee farmers will be gone, and then we won't have coffee.
Yeah.
So they need to have that support.
So So our goal really is to, in the places where we purchase the most coffee, like Guatemala, Colombia, and Costa Rica, we do social programs there. So a portion of every pound, we have not just a differential, but even a portion on top of that goes to different programs. So right now in Guatemala and in Costa Rica, we are supporting a daycare. So anyone that's harvesting the coffee can take their kids there. They get meals, medical checks, things to do. You don't have to worry about child labor. It was really created, not by us, but by the programs down there were created to mitigate child labor.
Which is so wise, and what you're doing is supporting something that's organically and authentically coming from Costa Rica and saying not saying this is what you need, having them say this is what we need, and you saying absolutely, we will meet you there because we need each other. And we need to make certain that we're operating within ethical parameters.
And to me, that's what the true fair trade is, right? You can put a stamp on it, but that has its own meaning that I'm not as into. I mean, I get what the intent was. This is really doing it.
Yeah, it's heart trade, you know? It's like coming from within. It's really
and it's sustainable. We need those people to do that, but they need support to do it. And
it's two sides of the same heart.
Yep.
So it really is essential, and it really is amazing what you're doing, because here it does feel warm and inviting and inclusive and like everyone belongs. I just want to say that shining a light on the good people and the hard work that you're doing, especially on the days when it's hard and it's hot and somebody is not being kind to you. For every one person that complains are a million
when I make you cry.
Yeah, are a million other people who just want to say thank you that never do. They say thank you with your dollar, and after 30 plus years, you're not only here, but you're thriving. And so I think that people that are voting in your favor.
Well, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for always doing Utah proud.